Hey everyone, Dante here. We're going to talk about the full moon in Virgo that's taking place tomorrow, Saturday in the North America and Europe. And yeah, I'm live here on TikTok. It's recorded for the other platforms. It's the first time I'm doing a TikTok live, so hi everybody. I hope you like the astrology updates. They've kind of slowed down, or well, they've stopped entirely because I was on a meditation retreat, but I'm going to get back into doing several weekly short reports about the astrology transits. So stay tuned for that. And now I'm gonna go deep into the full moon that's happening, and it's in this tropical sign of Virgo, but we're going to talk about the tropical Western chart and a little bit about the sidereal Vedic chart. So this Virgo moon happens when the sun's in Pisces, and Virgo and Pisces are on the mutable axis. So more traditionally, this would be the dual or double-bodied axis. And these signs have a dynamic nature. They are bringing a lot of dynamic change. They come before the transition, before seasons. So this Pisces season is the end of the winter, moving into the spring. It's bringing us this sort of mystical energy of coming back to life. Pisces is about endings, right? As that astrological new year begins in Aries. So we're wrapping things up, and this is the moon that allows us to kind of come to a culmination. Virgo is the cleaner upper of the zodiac and comes in to kind of spruce things up, do that fall cleaning. Virgo's associated with the end of summer, but there's sort of that energy coming through with this moon of like, let's get our things together so that we can really prepare for this new season. And Virgo is ruled by the sign, or rather Mercury rules the sign Virgo, who's aspecting this moon. So there's this double mercurial energy coming in, and Mercury is about the intellect. And so this gives us sharp focus of the mind. It might make us more oriented towards mercurial things, which is learning or teaching, and trade and business, and organization and healing to an extent too. So things that we do with our hands are very much connected with Mercury in general. And you might find that there's some big shifts coming up in business, and you're taking new strides with what you're doing in business or with learning. And we have both Mercury and Saturn aspecting the moon. So Saturn is that more serious planet. Saturn's connected with the air element, connected with boundaries, connected with things that take a long time. It's connected with discipline. And the aspect of Saturn makes things a bit more serious and focused. Mercury is the planet of the earth element, bringing form, and Saturn is the planet of the air element, which sort of scatters things and creates separation. So these two planets together can be a little bit not really lining up. Air and earth together is dust. So it might feel like we're walking through that sandstorm a little bit. But one of the benefits of this is that Saturn brings that serious or disciplined energy, and Mercury is our communication. So it's a good time for more serious and deliberate communication, saying some things that might be really important to get off your chest or to negotiate with others so that we can move forward into this new season. Now, there's the aspect of Jupiter on the moon, which creates a general sense of optimism and openness. Jupiter is the greatest benefic planet that supports an opening into spirituality, higher philosophy, connecting with family and friends. So Jupiter makes this a more uplifting moon that can compensate for some of the harsher qualities that Saturn might bring. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm looking to see if you have any comments or questions. Feel free to drop them. I will look at them as well. So other things that are happening, when we look to the moon, we consider all of the aspects to the moon, and there aren't so many aspects, but there's a lot of other things taking place at the same time. We look to the Lord of the Moon as well. It's Mercury, which we already discussed. So again, just re-emphasizing the aspect of Mercury on top of the rulership of Mercury makes it a very mercurial, mental kind of energy. And Mercury is a very fast-moving planet that thinks and acts deliberately and quickly. So there might be some of that energy pouring in as we experience this moon. Simultaneously, we have experienced the Mars and Venus conjunction today. And they're conjunct in the sign of Aquarius in the tropical zodiac. And Mars and Venus together can be this sort of combination for intense passion and intense sexuality. I forgot, should use different words online, but it doesn't matter. We're not really going deep into that subject. It's a combination. Mars is heat, it's fire, right? Venus is water, softness. And in a way, these fire and water are kind of enemies with each other. So while it creates an intense passion, it also creates a sort of sense of tension. And sometimes people, friends, lovers, whoever, can be really good at navigating that tension and turning it into a more powerful force of attraction. But other times it becomes fire and water steam. It scalds. It can be a little bit of a burning out effect. Fire and water together in Vedic astrology is also representing the transition between phases of the calendar. So whenever we see fire and water planets coming together in this way, there is a big sign that transition's taking place, that we're seeing, oh, okay, we're moving through this sort of in-between space that brings us towards something different and new. And we already kind of touched upon that with the fact that we're in this mutable or dual-natured energy sign of Pisces, Moon, and Virgo. So this influence is passing. We should also mention it's in that sign, Saturn sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is a pretty airy, out there planet, and this can bring in some sort of feeling of perhaps there's alienation that leads to these potential conflicts. But if it's coming through in a positive way, perhaps there's some positive Aquarius energy in your chart. This can be thinking outside of the box, going against the grain, going against the norm. And that's the energy that we need to bring in to any of these tensions. We need to kind of look at things from a new perspective, bring forward an innovative solution that goes beyond the sense of what is normal to us, looking towards what is foreign or alien to us, as that's what Aquarius connects with. It's evolution through these outsider, more spiritual perspectives. And oftentimes, in general, when there's conflict, we're not accepting perspectives that we can't see from our own eyes. So we really have to step into that imaginative way that we can put ourselves in other people's shoes to develop that compassion, to see the situation in a new way. So we also have the Chiron and North Node conjunction took place some days ago, and this has been a building influence for some weeks. And Chiron is the wounded healer, and where Chiron shows up in our charts is our insecurities. and wounds that we have that lead to those insecurities. Chiron also by transit can bring that sense of insecurity or woundedness to the planets it touches. In the sign of Aries, Chiron is bringing us to explore our woundedness around our sense of individuality, around our sense of who we are as individuals, and how we state and embody our uniqueness of being and personality. Chiron was in Aries as well in the late 1960s when there was the countercultural revolution. And ideally, through this transit, we're seeing more of that spirit be reawakened in the collective with this new sense that this is what I stand for, this is my life, this is my way, and I don't care what society is attempting to impose upon my individuality. And the North Node creates this sense of thirst or hunger or craving. It's a deep and intense desire and that says, I want this. The North Node is connected with our sense of self, our I sense, our identity. And this craving that we have leads us towards our evolution, leads us to, in a sense, our destiny. Because after all, it is what we want that determines the actions that we take. And then this leads to the results that become our destiny. And these two planets together are really making us look at and dive deeper into what are our wounds around individuality. And the North Node with Chiron makes us want to heal those wounds. It makes us really feel, oh, how do we heal this? How do we reconcile this? How do we overcome and make up for these insecurities around ourselves? There can be a deep movement in the collective towards wanting to be more established in a solid sense of self. And those people who have planets in Aries will be feeling this more powerfully than others. It's happening around 16 degrees of Aries. So if you have any planets positioned in that portion of the sign, then it will affect those planets more, and there might be some things to uncover or heal with those planets' associations. And again, this is a passing influence, and we're feeling it sort of fade out around the time of this full moon. And the last thing to bring in as a symbolic association with this moon is in the Vedic system, there's 27 nakshatras. This is translated as a lunar mansion. These are the signs of the moon, each with their own presiding deity and symbols that bring in certain associations when we have planets there. Especially our moon is very connected with these signs of or nakshatras. And we're in the lunar mansion now of Magha. Magha is in the sidereal sign of Leo, and Magha is the throne of the zodiac. It's the place of the king. So planets in Magha have this sort of royal sense to them. They have the sense of perhaps an elevated perspective. The people who have significant placements in Magha want to direct things, and they want to be treated sort of like royalty. They know their power and authority, and they can use it in deliberate ways to create change in the world. Though the shadow side of this Magha nakshatra is that it can bring in some energy of arrogance, detachment, and even a sense of isolation. Because if, after all, you're at the top of the top, people become jealous of you, and they don't feel like they can become super close to you. Yes, you're treated so wonderfully, but that imbalance of power doesn't create for connection. So Magha can also create that sense of isolation. And some of these energies might be coming in. We might be looking at how to step into our power at this time. And depending if Magha is a positive or negative nakshatra for you, it will be easy to step into new levels of power in your life, or perhaps not. And another association with this is the ancestors. The presiding deity is Pitters, which is the ancestors. So this is an interesting association that our sense of royalty or a sense of empowerment is bestowed upon us from our ancestors. There's such a way that we inherit our position in this world from the ancestors.